Welcome to the Wolff Den. Happy Thursday. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. The Wolff Den is presented by Win Again Academy. And I don't know why it's not going at the bottom, but there it is. Check out winagainacademy.com. Mark Moyer doing some great things with the informational and networking events. Today's guest, Mike Scharfenberg. He's making the rounds on the circuit this week for I like to consider this a late night talk show. He was on our partners, our buddies, Mike and Rick, last night with the Fan Experience. Welcome to the Wolff Den. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a big time Thursday. It's a sunny day here in Nashville, so I'm doing fantastic and super excited to be here. I've been following the show for a while, Matt. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we had a great chat when I was on interview with Influencers, which is your podcast, part of GAMEPLANU. But tell everybody who you are and just a quick background, and then we'll get into everything.
Yeah, of course. Well, again, thank you so much. And, just real quick about me. At the end of the day, quick and easy. I'm a problem solver. I'm a business development guy. I'm a sales guy. But at the end of the day, I'm a relationship guy. And, started out as a physical education major, having, loving helping people and coaching people. And I apologize as please.
No, it's live TV, man. Live TV. We don't edit it.
That's it. But yeah,
that could be the next OJ. I think today is 27 years ago was the OJ chase, so that might be the next OJ. We don't know. Hey,
and you never know. We got it on a live action shots that'll get us bump up those views and replays. But no, so I spent again 3 years in education, and I loved helping people. But at the end of the day, I just wasn't happy. So I took a semester off, having no idea what I wanted to do, and after about a month, my parents were like, you either start paying rent or you get your butt up and get a job. So I went out, and at the time, and still am very passionate about fitness, and ended up getting a job doing personal training sales at a local gym. And that's kind of where sales and business development clicked for me, that I love helping people, and I could be able to sell a product, but also help them solve a problem, whether knew they had or what not. So from there, quickly realized the fitness industry, as much as I loved it, was not something you want to do full time. So I went back to school, went to the University of New Haven, spent 2.5 years there. Was able to supplement my education with time with the New York Yankees sales team, Hartford Yard Goats sales team, and parlayed those opportunities as well with GamePlanU. I know we'll get into that later, and was able to parlay those into an opportunity with the Washington Nationals. That was back last March. Obviously, COVID threw us a nice curveball there, and built a podcast, continued network, and one thing led to another. And fast forward a year, and I'm out here in Nashville. Been here about 4 months, and couldn't have asked for more out of my first 4 months here in Nashville. So
yeah, a lot going on there. First of all, Nashville, probably my second favorite city in all of the U.S. The food, the entertainment, it's unbelievable. I love Nashville. Had you been there a lot before you took the job with the Titans?
Not once. Not only have I not been here, I didn't know a soul. I didn't know a single besides for the management who I spoke with, over Zoom. But other than that, didn't know anyone. Haven't been here, but trusted the organization, trusted the team, and just trusted the process that I'd be able to fit in with the surrounding environment.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pick a place sight unseen, Nashville. I know people do that. Austin's another one that people pick sight unseen, like, hey, let's just move to Austin, or DC, the DC area, stuff like that.
Yep.
Maybe South Florida is included in that. A lot of let's start. We'll go backwards. Start with the Titans. A lot of excitement there right now. Basically stealing Julio Jones to go with a playoff team. So season's looking pretty good. What have you seen in sales since that trade?
Yeah, no, it's the joke in the office, but we're going to build a statue for Arthur Smith outside of the stadium for sending us Julio. But no, it was 10:30 on a Sunday, and we got a text from our director saying, for those that aren't busy, we need you. We need all hands on deck. So worked all day that Sunday, and then worked pretty much from 8 to 8 that entire week. And it was inbound. It was people that we've built previous relationships that weren't ready to pull the trigger yet, reaching back out. So it shows, again, the power of building genuine relationships, not being that pushy salesman, right? But if you're not ready now, like, that's okay. we'll stay in contact and we'll find a time when you're ready. So sales here have been incredible. We surpassed our season ticket record for the 20 years we've been in, or now 21 years we've been in Tennessee already.
How many is that?
So we right now are about 2,000, I believe, is the number, in that ballpark. It is incredible. We also, for the month of May, got over 420 new season ticket members, which then is absolutely incredible. There's so much momentum, and I think it's a kind of a perfect storm, Matt, between the team's performance, right, between everything going on with Nashville and the city, and between the COVID effect. I said it from the beginning that our industry is going to come back bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And a lot of people call me nuts, and we're seeing it now. People want to get out and get back together and get that experience of a sporting event. And add Julio Jones on top of that with Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Tannehill, and the boys. I mean, it was the perfect storm. So it's been a tiring experience the last few weeks, but it's been incredible.
Yeah, so that actually, I don't know a whole lot about season tickets. Never had them. Well, actually, I did have them. When I moved down to South Florida, I bought a season ticket plan for the Dolphins, not being a Dolphin fan because I wanted to see everyone else who came in, and I think they had a good schedule that year. Sat all the way at the top. It was great. But how many people sit in Nissan Stadium?
So we are about 69,000.
So how does that rank 2,000 out of 69 relative to the rest of the league? What's the percent? I mean, obviously Green Bay, Denver, those are teams that have sold out forever, also having the luxury of being around for a lot longer. How do you compare with maybe the NFL average and maybe also against some of the newer teams or the teams that like the Jaguars who haven't been around? Well, they've been around for a while, but not as long as others.
So to give you a percentage would be difficult. In terms of the 2,000 plus, that was new this season, new business rejected. Okay. So that wasn't just, so there's a whole bigger number that I don't have, and shame on me on top of mind.
That's is it half? That's what I figure. I'm like, that's crazy. Is it half the stadium season, roughly, maybe?
It's got to be close to that for full seasons, and I'd say even higher than that for just partial season members as well. But the one thing I will say is there are organizations that are completely sold out and have a wait list for full seasons. I know the Denver Broncos is one that
Broncos and the Packers also.
The Packers, yep, and they just have a long list of people that are waiting to get there. Being a newer organization, it's one of those things where we fight against Nashville itself on a frequent basis, right? With just all of the things like you mentioned with the music, the Predators, and just all the things to do here in Nashville. So that was one. And the other big one is just the population of Nashville. I think the quote or the statistic I read was 10% of people who live in Nashville are actually from Nashville, born and raised. So you're getting people from all these different areas. And that's really been the uphill battle that we've had to face is how do we attack the population that may be fans of different organizations that raise their kids to be fans of those organizations, right? So it's really, since our president Burke took over, it's really going that grassroots approach. How are we going to target the youth? How are we going to get the youth now to become Titans fans and pass along that experience, even if they move out of Nashville and stay loyal to the Titans?
And so the Nashville is also a very big touristy place, much like Vegas is. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Vegas is new. Everyone's going to want to go. When the Knights came to Vegas, I went the first year, maybe even the second game, because the conferences I used to go to was right at the beginning. And when I went the last time for a conference, I guess it was 2 years ago, you couldn't find, no one was outside selling tickets. It was like unbelievable. The tickets were sold out. Everyone went to the games. No one was scalping, which is interesting. It was weird to be around there, but I loved it's a great experience to go out and see the Vegas Knights. We're actually going to be out in Vegas for football. Hope to see the Monday night game, season opener out there. From an inside sales point of view, away game, because it's a tourist place, an away game for the other people's fans is a huge thing. Do you have anything to target that personally or through the organization?
We do. it's funny. So it is a challenge. It's a huge challenge, and I don't know if any of your listeners has been out to Nissan Stadium, but that's one of the things in the past is when you have a fan base like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills, who apologize for the car, who the last like 3 years they've came out. It's been almost every season, which is crazy how that happened. But their fan bases travel, and they travel in large numbers. So for us, we've had to implement different type of policies. You have to live 4-hour radius of a certain area, whether it's Kansas City or Nashville, to get those tickets. And a lot of that is fighting brokers who want to buy bulk seating. And at the end of the day, what we do, we take care of away fans, but we're not going to give them the same luxury as we do our home fans. That their payments are due earlier than our Titan fans. And that's just because at the end of the day, we want to fill our venue with our fans. Yeah. That being said, we want to help out other organizations as they do for us. But at the end of the day, our job is first and foremost for the 615 and for the Fireball fans.
Yeah. You also want people in the seats because they're spending money and it looks better. You need sellouts and stuff like that. But the brokers situation it's all interesting. The secondary market and the brokers and season tickets. I know many teams have told brokers who had tickets for a lot of years that they're not going to sell it to them anymore. The tickets still end up in the broker's hands. I don't know what the answer to that is. I think it's, as a fan, I hate the fact that I have to pay 6, 8, 10 times what a ticket costs to go to a game because I can't get access to this. And we go every year to games. And, depending on the popularity, but, what are you seeing out there in the secondary market? And how does that affect you in selling?
I mean, honestly, I use it from a pricing perspective. That's a huge benefit for me. I mean, and I'm sure all your listeners have been to sporting events. Like you're checking out and you said, this price is a little high, but I'm okay with it. Like, I want to see the game, but then you go to check out and there's all these fees and you're like, where do these fees come from? And if you're going to 3 to 4 games a year, that adds up. And what's really great, and I can't speak for every organization, but what we do is we have no on-top fees. It's the face value of the seat, and that's it. And that's for our partial and full season members as well. So in terms of the secondary market, like, I'm straight up with people. I know, Matt, you and I know each other pretty well. Like, I'm not a pushy seller. I'm a relationship seller. Listen, what are your challenges? Like, where do you buy your seats? How is that experience? Well, I hate the fees. Listen, this is what we can do for you. And if it's not a fit, if you can't commit to the 4 games or the full season, like, that's fine. But at the end of the day, the secondary market is certainly, it can be a crutch, but it can also be a helpful tool. It just depends on how you utilize it and how you present it.
I don't know if you know Scott Friedman or not, but we just had a conversation last week. He's got a thing he does called Scott's Takes, and he was in the secondary market. He's been on both sides. And Tennessee, the Vols had something in the regionals where their tickets were going for ridiculously much higher than face value, and he was saying, like, all right, well, if you priced it right, then you won't have that secondary market action, but then you want to try to be more affordable for the people who can. Half of them have to buy through season ticket holders, so there's probably some type of balance. Like, should you raise ticket prices to get the brokers so they don't? Is that going to matter? Will the brokers still buy it, and then people will still pay 10% on top of that? Because the brokers aren't necessarily a lot of them, depending on the team, aren't operating on huge margins.
Correct. And you're spot on with that. If we raise our prices, that's great. But at a certain point, it's kind of that chain effect. Is they're going to raise the price to the consumer. That's just how it is. So do I have an answer for how to stop that problem? If I did, I wouldn't be in inside sales right now. Obviously, it's something that we talk about on a frequent basis, but I think that was a great point that you had. At the end of the day, it's always going to be kind of that one that step up.
And the fees are out of control. They're everywhere. Resort fees for a hotel, like, what's a resort fee? Like, shouldn't the resort fee be part of the room? That's what I'm getting. Are you asking me if I want to use your stuff, and then if I do use your stuff, I got to pick the resort fee? Because if I'm not, then what do I need to pay the resort fee, when I buy on a secondary market, when I have to, I always click, hey, show me it with the fees. I don't care what the price is without the fees. That's irrelevant to me. Why would I care what you're charging me without the fees? It
Correct.
means nothing to me. So I'm always like, hey, what's it all in? Like, hey, you could charge me if I buy a product on eBay, I'll charge you $40, but no shipping, or I'll charge you $20 plus $20 shipping. I'll probably, I don't know. It's at the end of the day, how much is it going to cost me? So people do a lot of weird things with the fees in sports and entertainment. I wish there'd be a little bit more transparency about it. It sounds good that you guys are no fees, although I'm sure whatever needs to be in there is in the price, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the smart way to do it. If you put it inside the price, no one needs to know how much money is going towards this or how much going to this. That's just what it costs you to go into the game. You've never been to Nashville. What was your NFL team growing up?
Funny story. Until the age of 10, I didn't have a team. I was more of just a kind of consumer. And ironically enough, I grew up a Tennessee Titans fan. As crazy as from Connecticut, as crazy as that is to sound, I grew up a Titans fan.
Who was it? Vince Young or?
So it was right around that time. There's a backstory to that, and I'll kind of give you the short version. But my family is a big Giants house, and we were getting ready for the regionals in the Babe Ruth baseball tournament, and Giants game was on Sunday, and we had the game the next day, and my dad promised to take me for batting practice at halftime during the Giants game, and it was Giants Titans. Just so happened that one thing led to another. He didn't take me. It was 21-0 Giants at the half. I said, screw you, Pops. Screw everybody else. I said, I'm going for this other team. They're down 21-0. Who cares? Fourth quarter, we scored 24 unanswered points, 2 Pac-Man Jones interceptions. Rod Baronis rest his soul game-winning field goal, and been a big Titans fan ever since.
Yeah, it's. I was going to say, I know you're young. First of all, you look like you're 12 years old. I'm sure people.
I get that. I get that a lot. I hear though, as you age, it has a benefit there. So
no, it's great. I don't think I look my age necessarily, if I can keep the grays out. But and I don't use the Keith Hernandez, whatever his. I don't know what the product is called. He's pushing the turn your gray beard into. Is there Hernandez and Walt Frazier? It might be. Hernandez.
Yeah, I think it's Hernandez. I think you're right.
Yeah, Hernandez, and it used to be Hernandez and Walt Frazier. And so it's good that you're a Titans fan, because it's one thing I always thought about when I was looking to get into sports and ticket sales or even working was like, how am I going to work for a team that I despised growing up? It's tough. I mean, people do it. They go from, like let's say I'm a Gator fan, and they go from the Gators to a team that you played, in the same thing, and you're like, man, I used to hate them, and now I gotta love them. It's a weird thing to do. Obviously, you got a job to do, but I think you have to kind of like the team that you're selling for, and like the environment and the history and the players. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to sell. I would think that's the case for anything you're selling.
You got to love what you're selling. 100%. How I look at it, I've been extremely blessed. My 2 teams are the Yankees and Titans. So I've been incredibly, incredibly blessed to work for the teams that I grew up rooting for, right? But at the end of the day, I don't love selling for the Titans. Yes, it's awesome. It's a nice perk that I can talk Titans football. I love selling the experience of the game. So you kind of have to separate the two of fandom and being a professional and selling the experience and being a relationship, building a relationship and helping create those memories, right? So, for example, when we were in DC, never actually got to start working, but during our interview, we had 3 hours to get on the phones and speak to the DC fan base. And that was more for individuals who didn't have any ticket sales experience before, to give them that taste of this is what your day-to-day is going to be like, right? And my whole mindset, I'm not a Washington Nationals fan. I know the general kind of idea. I have some players that I know and all that, but I'm not big on their history, right? So my opening would be, listen, you guys won the World Series last year. Like, tell me how that felt. Then you get the juices flowing. We start talking about it. If I was a Met fan and I hate the Nationals, that's great. But I love the experience. So you kind of have to put that experience in being helping others ahead of that fandom. But that being said, again, working for the team that you grew up rooting for, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I'm all about the fan experience. That's really mostly what Ticket Time Machine is about.
Yep.
And I'm actually going to the Yankee game next week on Thursday against the Royals. I got an afternoon game. I'll be in New Jersey, so I'm looking forward to that. I already been to the new Yankee Stadium, but I was talking to someone, and the new Citi Field is a better experience from a fan going point of view if you didn't have an affinity for either team than the new Yankee Stadium. But Yankee Stadium has all kinds of history. Baseball is one of those games that I think, the experience is kind of the ballpark has to play a lot in the experience. We go to baseball games, we go annually, everything, and we walk around, we hang out in the outfield. We might not even be in our seat for half of the time. Football is a totally different thing. There's a lot more tailgating beforehand, tailgating afterwards. But a lot of what's going on is you're at your seat. You don't want to really miss what's in your seat. So what is Tennessee doing? What are the Titans doing to kind of, because it's a business, it's entertainment, what are they doing to kind of bridge the two?
Yeah, so there's a few ways I can go there. I think what we've done this year, and I absolutely love it, is the mindset of we're not selling 9 regular season home games, right? We're selling 9 events and experiences, and each game is going to have a different theme, and it's going to be almost like a theater performance for the fans. That way you don't have to leave your seat. You're locked into the game, but you're going to have, whether it's a military appreciation, all the things that come with that, or it's this one is in the works for seasons down the road, but it's an Oilers throwback. Like things like that are what we're really trying to do, is turn that more into an experience. We also have different events and areas outside of our stadium for fans to do different things, punt, pass, kick events, things like that, just to get the fans engaged, before the game, and then during the game, obviously having different promotions and things like that. But I think the biggest thing for us is combining the on-field product with a specific experience and turning that game into an event.
What's the feeling of expectations for the Titans this year? Is it Super Bowl? I mean, you got to take the next step, right? You got there, you got to take that next step.
Oh yeah,
that's every year, but especially how they've done the last couple of seasons.
So now I'm going. Mike the professional hat is going to go back, and Mike the Titan fan is going to step in. It's super. You always got to start a season right with the mind of getting a ring and hosting Lombardi Trophy. But at the end of the day, sometimes for an organization who missed the playoffs for 10 years straight or 8 years straight, like getting there, maybe winning around, like that's a win, and you can build on that. We're past that point now. The 4 straight 9-7 seasons. 11-5 year last year, winning the division. Like we are at that stage where it's winning time, and I think the fan base smells it. Last year for us, our offense wasn't the issue. Obviously, Julio Jones is an upgrade over Corey Davis, but for us, it comes down to the defensive side of the football, and bringing in Jim Schwartz and a bunch of different defensive pieces. Like it's all going to be, how does that defense come together and not be at the bottom tier, get us to the mid to top tier. And I think sky's the limit for us this season.
Yeah. And it's a big thing for you guys in the ticket office, if you can win enough games to host a playoff game as opposed to going on the road. So that's part of the other thing that you guys are looking at as the season progresses. I want to talk a little bit about actual ticketing. NFL announced the last week or so that they're going completely digital with their tickets. I don't think it's possible to go completely 100% digital. It's just not. I understand that's what they're saying. Are the season ticket holders going to have some type of option for a printed ticket, commemorative ticket, something? Has that ever been in the talks of it, or they're not? It's not something that they're going to entertain.
Yeah, it was coming. I know, Matt, obviously with Ticket Time Machine and the business here, and you kind of sensed it was coming, hence the business and what you guys are doing. And I think it's actually a big announcement for you and the business. In terms of us, COVID accelerated it 100%, and we are 100% going electronic this season.
But they have paper tickets there. I mean, it's just they can't not have tickets to print if the Wi-Fi goes out, if the phone, old people, flip phones, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. They have printed stuff there, so that's the thing. And I understand you can put back the I'm wearing the team hat now, and it's just there is there. So I was just curious what the policy was on that for people, because even if you say that, and I'm going, the Yankees are completely digital, and I hope they get a printed ticket for the game I go to. We'll figure out how. Hopefully, no one's watching the show from there, but I have some ideas. It'll just be interesting to see. Do you even get that question as a season ticket holder if people are buying it?
Great question. So honestly, I haven't. A lot of the fan base that I've worked with and the partners I've worked with have had zero issues, no questions. Where we have been starting to get that question is with the CMA. So we're a partner of CMA as well. And they are going completely digital as well. Those fans are starting to reach out and because they have that lanyard, they want that experience and to hold the physical ticket. So that's something we are dealing with. What we've heard from them right now is it's completely digital. Honestly, and I know, like you said, the ticket stock is there.
The ticket stock is there.
What I can't say is what our ops team would do about that. That's an operations question.
Yeah.
All I can do is funnel them to the box office and say, listen, if you want to take this up with the operations, I'd be happy to help in any way I can. But at the end of the day, that's completely on the operations management side. And how do I feel about it? I'm kind of mixed because I agree with you. Like, I have an envelope in my house from the ticket stubs that I went to games with, right? So there's that kind of emotional connection there. But I also think you have to be innovative and keep up with the times. So it's kind of that double-edged sword of, I get it. I get where it's going and why it's going there. But I also get the other side of having that physical ticket.
Yeah, from a fan's point of view, and I'm going to talk here as a fan, not as the owner of Ticket Time Machine, because as you mentioned, everything going digital is only going to help what we're doing. But from a fan's point of view, I don't really enjoy the digital ticket process, even from just being a fan going into a game, and then also wanting something to have regardless of how nice it is or not. But the one thing to me that would seem weird is when you're in that transition, because it's new, but it's not that new. They're kind of transitioning. They'll announce they're going 100%. Again, it's not possible to go to 100%. So they actually have it there. So the few people, and maybe it's a bigger number, whatever it is, who come up and ask for it, it would seem like the obvious no-brainer choice to just print them a ticket to say, okay, this time we're going to do it. And, who knows? I don't know. People might come back a few times, but to say it's not going to be enough that's going to halt the digital ticketing process and to give, you want to give fans, value and not a bad feeling for the experience. So to me, for the few that do come up, it would seem like a good idea to just print it for them. And then we talk to companies that are going to offer some type of season ticket to pay for it. Because again, I think go to digital ticketing. I understand it. It's cheaper for you guys. You get to track the data, but you have an opportunity to give fans something special, right? I mean, I got stuff from, and I'm going to show it to you. This is like the second or third time that I've left my seat during the show. But to show you what the Rams gave everyone, I mean, this is a little overkill to have to put this. First of all, I don't know what the heck I would do with it, but the expense of it. So to be able to offer someone something, let's say it's not even a season ticket sheet, it's something physical to talk about the experience there, and it'll turn into a revenue. So it's just it's interesting the way it'll go, because we are in that awkward phase where it's becoming a thing, but it's not. Look, it's 100%, but it's really 96% or 92%. And if there's 8%, there's certain people are going to want to be part of that 8%. Anyway, that's my take as a fan, and we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. I go on to a sports weekend trip, and I collect tickets from all of them. This is going to be our 20th year. We're going to be out in LA, and half the time we got to scrounge the stadium for if someone dropped a ticket, or when you're walking out, we actually bought tickets off these. There was a group of girls who were walking in front of us with their tickets hanging. I'm like, hey, we'll give you $10 for those tickets or something like that. So it's look, you got to get creative these days.
You got to, and to kind of put a bow on your point, because you're spot on of like, in the beginning, that percentage of who ask for physical tickets is not going to be very high, right? It's going to be a very small percentage. But from an organizational standpoint, when you have such a massive fan base, it's like, do you want to open Pandora's box? Because once you do it for one, you got to do it. So it's just one of those things where you got to kind of take it case by case. And in terms of giving value and a physical gift for season ticket holders, one of the things the Titans did last year, which I absolutely loved, was for all of our season ticket holders, they printed out a 2020 year in review book, which highlighted every game, highlights, photos. It was a nice, real thick, well put together book, and sent that out. And I thought that was like incredible. And what an opportunity, and to especially in 2020, for fans who couldn't make it out to games, we still sent that out to individuals that held their PSLs and their season ticket holders. So you're spot on about that. And, maybe there's ways. Maybe you set up a booth at the stadium and it's a $5 fee to print the ticket or something like that. Like, you got to be innovative and listen to your audience. If the audience wants it and the fans want it, you got to do it.
I think that, part of the issue is the fans don't know that there could be an opportunity to have it. So that's like the double-edged sword. Like, hey, we don't get enough calls about it. Okay. Well, if we start asking people, you'll see maybe they're not vocal about it. Maybe they don't know it's even a possibility, but maybe they talk to their friends and be like, oh man, this really stinks, or whatever the case may be. They're coming. The tickets are coming. I don't know how or where or when. But were there fans in the Tennessee games last year?
So we started out no capacity for, I believe, the first 2 or 3 games, and then Pittsburgh, we had about 16 or 17, and we finished the year at about 24%.
Okay, so this is going to be it's going to be dramatic change for week 1. Do you guys start out at home?
We do. Arizona Cardinals, September 12th, 12 o'clock Central Time.
There you go, Arizona. That'll be a fun game, Mike Kyler. Who are you looking forward to seeing most come to the stadium?
That's a tough question. We were incredibly blessed with our schedule this year. Granted, it is a very tough schedule, but we have our premium games. We have the Chiefs and Mahomes. We have Buffalo on Monday Night Football. We got the Thursday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers, Miami Dolphins come in, Arizona Cardinals. You got the Colts with Carson Wentz, the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, the Texans, who knows what's going on down there. But just that it's just such a action and star-studded lineup. For me, it's got to be the Buffalo game, Monday Night Football, though. Yeah. I mean, that is going to be, for those familiar with Nashville and this market, right over the pedestrian bridge, 5-minute walk, you have Broadway. It is going to be a madhouse on Monday night, and one of the biggest games we've had here in a long time. So couldn't be more excited for all of our games, but that one in particular stands out.
I'm excited to see what Jacksonville does. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to do very well. I love Etienne. The fact that we got Etienne also, I thought he's one of the better players in the draft. You never know how it's going to translate to the NFL, but that's a pretty good slate of games to be selling. As first of all, it helps that your team is good. That's the first thing you want, right? And then the second thing is, bringing good teams in and having the right schedule. So let's talk a little bit about GamePlanU and an interview with influencers. I think which one came first? Was it GamePlanU?
I started with GamePlanU first, correct.
And tell everybody about GamePlanU. We've had Denise on and Rob on the show. Great organization. But tell everyone, if they don't know, a little bit about GamePlanU.
Yeah, I like to keep things short and sweet. So really at the core of what we are and what we do is we are a community that connects entrepreneurs, specifically in the sport space, sport technology space, with executive in residencies who are angel investors, industry executives, your VP of innovation for the Orlando Magic or your VP of sales for the whoever, people just looking to help and make connections. So our executive residencies, and then our third vertical is our career seekers or students. So students that are looking to immerse themselves in a segment of the industry that is not taught at university level, sport technology, entrepreneurship. And we want to provide kind of that perfect balance. Students to get the real world experience working with founders such as yourself. Say Matt, you needed help with marketing, and you like we were speaking about before the show, like getting on podcast. You could have a student work with you on those things, and that's really what we wanted to provide, is this community that connects the three dots and benefits all parties put together.
Yeah, it's been great. And we talked a little bit about Mike Katos and the show you were on. He's got a great little app that's coming out soon called Playing the Field, and he came in second. I think Cody. Which one? One of them won. One of them won, and one of them came in second. Two great friends of the program, Drew Nauer and Michael Katos with Cody, and Playing the Field. Do you remember which one won? I feel
Andrew won, and he actually, and this is just speaking, Matt, to a conversation we had beforehand of like, you never know who's watching. Yeah. You never know who's watching from the outside of whether it's a post or whether it's a podcast. Andrew got reached out, or we got reached out by a angel investor who saw through LinkedIn what Andrew was doing, and he goes, I love it. I love the concept. And this gentleman runs a series of nursing homes, and he's like, that concept, it's sport related, but that would work perfectly for our client base. And Andrew got a $40,000 investment that we had no idea he was even paying attention to what we were doing. So that just shows the power of putting yourself out there and being genuine, and you never know who's watching. So you always got to be on your game.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who being genuine is very big in my book. There's too many people who aren't these days. But Drew and Mike, to me, they're the real deal, and I love supporting them and talking with them. And they've been a great part of my circle and the networking that I've done. And we kind of all help each other out. It's a kind of a small circle. Mike actually is going to be on the 2-Minute Drill, which is a pitch show David Meltzer's doing on, I think it's either on Netflix or Prime. I can't remember what it was, but we'll wish him luck and we'll root him on. I don't know if we can help him, but I think it's great. I love the idea. There's so many great ideas that you guys probably come across from that, in a competition, you could come in 15th, 20th place and still have a killer idea. And then sometimes there's no rhyme or reason, depending on who the judges are. And a lot of it was popularity, right? It's like, all right, get yourself to vote. Those people got, but which is part of what you need to do when you're building a business.
100%. And what I look for, so my main role with GamePlanU is scouting talent and vetting talent and onboarding talent to our community. And I don't always look for who's making the most money or who's generating the most revenue. That, don't get me wrong, that's great. Concept's important, revenue generation is important, but for us, it's the intangibles. It's the stuff that doesn't show up on paper. It's your work ethic. It's how bad do you want it? What trials and tribulations have you been through, and how have you overcome them? Like those skills that you can't teach, those are the founders that we're really looking to work with.
Yeah. How did interview with influencers come to be?
Yeah. So kind of fast forwarding back to last March when I had the opportunity with the Nationals, and when that got stripped in May, I kind of took a step back, and that's where you have two choices, right? You have the victim mindset of this sucks and I'm going to be miserable, or the growth mindset of I got knocked down, but I'm going to get back up and fucking and crush it. Right. Like, and that was the mindset that I had. And so I went to Rob and I said, I know I'm blessed that I had the experiences that I did. And there's so many out there, just recently graduating. I saw it firsthand that didn't have those experiences, whether they were student athletes or just they didn't have the connections to get into a brand name like minor league baseball or major league baseball. And I said, how can I help connect and bridge that gap? And that's where he suggested a podcast. And, I never podcasted before, but I took a leap of faith and started that. And it was just an incredible way to feature sport industry executives. So interview with influencers, that's really the core of it. Featuring VP of ticket sales, or a director of operations, share your story. Let's hear your story. Let's hear, trials and tribulations you had, how you overcame it. As a hiring manager, what advice do you have? And it really started to build an audience of students. And students would reach out to not only myself, but to the hiring managers as well. So not only was it a good way for students to hear from managers that they may interview for, right? Not only that, but also you have these managers and executives not only building their brand, but actually we had, and we're proud to say, 2 students get hired by guests of the show. That was connected through the show. And that's what it's all about. It's just this community of everybody helping each other. And, 26 episodes later, it's just been an incredible experience.
I'm lukewarm on the term influencers. I wrote an article about influencers. Read it on my LinkedIn. But, it's good. The people that you have on are, you hope are the good influence, right? Because influencer by definition is not inherently positive or negative. So, but it's a good podcast, good production. It was fun to be on. I was a guest, and I look forward to seeing who else comes on there. Denise has a great podcast too, Mindset Monday.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, that is a talk about, the challenges and tribulations and trials of daily life, right? And the stress. And it is just a great way to get away and just kind of once a week, just listen and reevaluate kind of some of the things you're doing, and you learn new techniques of how to help your mindset and mentality. And it is, for those who haven't seen it, it's an incredible podcast. And Denise, like myself, is always willing to have a conversation. So via LinkedIn, reach out to all of us, and we're always happy to chat about whatever.
Yeah, it's good. And I like to integrate, on the Wolff Den, some mental health conversations and people's stories of struggle. And, we've had abuse people on, because they're really, they're great stories that need to be told. And it's, it's the serious side of things, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned. We had someone, Ryan Nurse, the Fool Around the World, incredible story. He joined us. Denise has a great story. I encourage you to check out her podcast, but also I encourage you to check out her episode on the Wolff Den, but also her podcast. It all is great. And then Nancy Barrows was a guest on ours. So we go outside the sports and entertainment world. We talk about a little bit of everything, because there's lessons to be learned everywhere. This conversation, ton of lessons to be learned on, in the ticketing world, and talking about, journeys of getting into the sports world, and, stuff that you have to do. And what I like is, and this is nothing against you, but we're everyday people. We're not the influencers that are like, I've heard your story 100 times already, not yours. I've heard your story. Like, I don't need you to tell me it's all over the place. I don't need to hear it again. We need a new, younger wave of people to talk about their story and to share better ideas and newer ideas. Because frankly, I think a lot of the stuff is old and stale. It's like, how many times do I need to hear, professional athlete, what's his name, or, rock singer or movie star talk about whatever it is. I don't know.
You're spot on. And in terms of like the younger generation, you're just going to relate better to someone who's younger. That's just how it works, right? Like so if I'm speaking to a student, or there's an executive who's been retired in the industry, like, that's so great to hear your story, and you can take nuggets from that, but they're going to relate more to me. I was just in their shoes, right? So I think that's a fantastic point of like, we just need more individuals to step up and have confidence in their abilities and tell their story, because your story can impact so many other people that you may not even realize.
Yeah, we talk about like Win Again Academy, who's a great friend of the show, Mark Moyer's events. One of his tagline, I don't know, is, you're going to meet at least 1 or 2 people in this event who are going to impact your network and your community. So, and sometimes that's all it takes is one. And it might not even be one person change your life. It might be, the connection. It could be, your new connection. Who knows? But I'm all about, helping and sharing. And it's been great. Don't get me wrong. I reach out to some of the most famous people in the world and ask them to come on to the Wolff Den. I've had some pretty good guests, and I hope to have some more. But it's always going to be about, hey, if you want to come on to the Wolff Den and talk about your story, come on. I'm never going to tell anyone no. I'm literally never going to tell anyone no unless I think it's just going to be a disaster. They don't really have anything to talk about. And but I've never encountered that. And it's like, if someone actually wants to come on your show and reaches out and takes the effort to do it. You said this also, like, why would you reject them? Find a space for them. Who cares? You never know that might be the best episode you ever have. But I agree with you. You had mentioned, hey, it's not the right fit or whatever.
But at the end of the day, if you reach out to someone to be on their show, and it's like, I put it this way, I wouldn't reach out to someone who does knitting podcast. Like, there's just not, I wouldn't bring value to that audience. But if I'm reaching out to, and there's connections there, and they don't acknowledge you, or they don't even give you time to have a conversation to see if it would be a fit, you wouldn't want to be on that podcast anyways.
Yeah.
Because
I still might, but I get it.
I mean, yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. I agree.
Because if they can't give you that time, that tells you a lot about the character there. And it's like, our values don't mix. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, but it's funny. There's plenty of people who want to be helpful, and my network is loaded with them. The people that inspired me to do my open to work events, I mean, it's just loaded with people who are sharing and helping all day, every day. And then there's people who they want you to have the appearance that they want to help, but they won't. Like, I'll answer your one email, but then it'd be like, oh, what do you want from me? I answered it, even though I didn't answer your question. And we're supposed to have continuing dialogue. That's a whole nother conversation. I can go. My Brent is listening. He's we're not gonna. He wants a guaranteed fishing with George W. Bush, which we don't do. So you're invited on the show anytime, Brent. But Brent would enjoy. I just talked to someone about it's for like what grinds my gears episode with Family Guy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Yeah, the Lindsay Lohan. Brent loves that. We used to love to talk about, what grinds my gears. But it's that's for another conversation. Let's talk a little bit about sports now. And do you have a bucket list of sports? What was your favorite event that you've been to, and what's the one that you haven't been to that you would love to get to?
That's tough. My favorite event. Obviously, I've been to a few Yankee playoff games, so probably that event of the wild card game against the Twins.
Did you see them lose to the Marlins in the World Series?
I did not see them lose to the Marlins in the World Series, thankfully enough. And thankfully enough, I was born in '95. I was 6.
Oh, okay.
Right, 2001, so I was 6. So at the time, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt.
But you are. I mean, I didn't realize you were as young as you are, but you look young. You never even think about that stuff. But 96 was a great series. Yeah,
and so I think that was it was the wild card game against the Twins with Didi hitting going down 3-0, Sevy getting pulled in the first inning, and Didi hitting a 3-run homer to tie it in the bottom half, and that memory sticks out. I know Derek Jeter, being at Derek Jeter's last game at Yankee Stadium.
You were there.
I was there. You have the ticket. I was like 3 rows from the top of the grandstands, but I was there. And
you have a ticket from that game?
I have a ticket, but it is a paper ticket. So it was one of those, you get it on StubHub.
Is it at home?
It is at home. I wish if I was home, I would have ran in the room and pulled it out.
No, I mean print at home. It's a print at home ticket.
Print at home, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a last minute purchase that we decided to pull the trigger on. But yeah, so it was there. And I think for me, bucket list, there's really 2. Number 1 is obviously the Super Bowl. I mean, that's just kind of speaks for itself, regardless of who's playing. Would I like the Titans to be in it? 100%. But just being there, I think, is on the bucket list. And then number 2 is, and I'm not a soccer guy, I'll be the first one to tell you that, going to a World Cup game.
Yeah.
Oh, with those fan bases, just to be a part of that is something that it's on the bucket list that I want to see.
I think it's funny. We talk about bucket lists for sporting events. You probably can boil not everyone's, but the majority of people's down into, I would say, 5 or 10. And now it's just a matter of like how you're going to arrange it. For me, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Olympics, World Cup. Those are all games that events that I haven't been to yet that I would love to get to. Give me some of your favorite sports movies.
Sports movies. That's funny. I actually watched one of them last night, ironically enough, Kicking and Screaming, Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Classic. If I want to laugh, Coach Ditka in there, Will Ferrell doing an incredible job. So that's number one. For more of an inspirational.
How about Ladybugs? Because I think that might be even kind of a funnier soccer type game, although Kicking and Screaming is great.
That one's from my childhood, and haven't seen the Ladybugs. I'll have to check that one out.
Rodney Dangerfield.
There we go. Well, that's on the bucket list now. Gotta put that one on. But I will say another one for more of an inspirational perspective would be Glory Road.
Yeah, the Kentucky
and Texas Western. So it was the first all-black starting five, and they went and upset Adolph Ruff and the Kentucky Wildcats, and that whole story of what the team went through and what Coach Haskins went through with recruiting.
Yeah.
The recruiting part wasn't the big deal; it was starting. Having them in. And the being in Texas and El Paso at the time and what they had to deal with. So that one is just an incredible story. And obviously it has a good ending, but the lessons that you take away from there's so many nuggets in that movie as well. So that's one of my favorites. And then the last one, it's going to be The Rookie.
The Rookie?
The Rookie.
Twins, right? The Twins?
With, no. So that The Rookie with Dennis Quaid.
Oh yeah, the Angels.
Nope. So that's it. So this story, The Rookie, it was Jimmy Morris, who was a highly recruited pitcher out of college, and he threw out his arm, and he spent it's got to be like 15 to 16 years as a teacher, and he got a second try. Just coaching high school baseball, he got a second wind in his arm, was throwing 96, 97, and worked his way as a 39-year-old to the major leagues and reached his dream. And just the lessons you learn from that and never giving up on a dream and overcoming adversity. It is just such a great story. So I would say those would be probably the top three.
I always get my movies. I was thinking about Little Big League, I think, with the
classic.
The Minnesota Twins.
Yep. There's so many. The Sandlot, Bad News Bears.
Baseball has so many great movies. Hardball with Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
Another great movie.
Yep.
Give me your personal Mount Rushmore of sports, the four favorite athletes. Any sport.
Derek Jeter, number one, hands down. Not just Derek Jeter, the athlete, but just the overall leader and person he is. Easily number one for me. This is so tough. There's so many. Got to go MJ. I know it's probably taken a lot of people take those two to start off, but MJ certainly don't have to say much about him. Number three. Got to go Kemba Walker. Not a Celtics fan, not a Hornets fan, big UConn fan, and the run he put us on and just the class that he carries himself with is really, truly unmatched. So you got to go Kemba Walker there. And number four, this is tough. I got to go Derrick Henry. And he started to recently kind of climb his way in there. Obviously, there's a lot of famous and talented athletes, but for me, the biggest thing with Derrick, not just being a Titans fan, how countless times athletes celebrate, right? And there's ridiculous celebrations. I'm all for the creativity, but I'm also for Derrick. This is business. I just ran for 90 yards. Ref, here's the football. I'm on to the next play. I'm going to win. What's important now? Getting to the sideline, getting hydrated, and working to the next play. So for me, Derrick Henry, not just the player Derrick Henry, but his personality of what's important now and winning the moment has to make that cut for me.
Yeah. If you had to choose switch sports, selling football, what would you pick?
I would go. It's tough. I'd probably go to the NBA.
Yeah, and do you have a team?
Yeah, no. I mean, I love baseball, and baseball's always been one of my favorite sports. I mean, the 81 home games is certainly a challenge, but I love the different fan bases. The innovation of the NBA really attracts me. Same with the innovation of the NFL. I'm not saying the MLB is not innovative as they are, but obviously the two in the forefront is the NBA and the NFL. So I would probably say those two. But I would be blessed if it's the right opportunity for me, I just look for leadership, quality leadership where I can learn is really the icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, that's great. I think I agree. The 161 games, even forget about, if you're working, it's a lot. It's a lot of games, and you always like feel weird about, man, who the heck can buy 81 home games and go to all of them? Then you got to figure out, who am I giving this to? Obviously, baseball is a big corporate sales thing, right? A company and can just dole them out. So it'd be interesting to work for there. And then you got to, if your team's not that great, think about the challenge of that. We're friends with some, and we won't call anyone out, but I'm friends with some people who are in Major League Baseball ticket offices with teams that are not great. So anyway, we'll get you out of here on the same question. We get everybody out of here.
Let's do it.
This is what Brent was referencing. If you can spend a day with anyone, they have to be living, and you can't be related to them. It doesn't have to be sports. Who are you going to pick, and what are you guys going to do? We're putting a list together. I've already made outreach. That's why he references George W. Bush, although he hasn't been a guest yet, so he's not going to get his wish until he becomes a guest. But as a guest of the Wolff Den, you get to put a name on there, and so let us know.
Let's do it. It's tough. I'm going to go somebody who is a entrepreneur, a business executive, a CEO, but also a big sports guy. I don't know if that gives it away, but it's got to be Mark Cuban for me. Hands down, got to be Mark Cuban.
I thought you were going to say Gary V.
I mean, Gary's good. But for me, Mark Cuban, just what he does, his innovative mindset, his personality, it's hands down for me, Mark. I mean, we could talk about everything. Gary V, although I am a sports card collector, so I could get into Gary V that in business. So that's a good second. But yeah, Mark Cuban would be. Yeah,
Cuban would be a great person. I'd love to get. I always say every time someone mentions Cuban, I love to talk about this time I was at the NFL at the Super Bowl Fanatics party, and Mark Cuban's walking around in a Mavericks sleeveless shirt, not a jersey, just a shirt, like cut off sleeves and everything. He would be great to spend a day with. What would you guys do? Obviously, you talk, but. Anything particular?
I mean, for us, that's a good one. Well, number one, I'd want to see a Mavericks game. I want to sit courtside with them for a Mavs game. So I think that would kind of end the night. I would love to. I am a big competitive person. I also enjoy some craft beer. So there is a place for those in Nashville. The first time I was there, they were sponsored the Titans, Yeehaw Brewing. They're also a distillery. Oh, we're going to Yeehaw. They got full-size basketball hoops. Him and I could have a shootout. They got corn.
Yahoo.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw?
Yeehaw Brewing. Yeah.
I know that one.
Yeah.
Yazoo.
Yeehaw, it's a brewery.
Oh, there's another one. There's a ton of breweries that we go whenever we're in Nashville. We'll have to trade some restaurants and breweries and stuff.
I got a list. When I moved here, people sent me place after place, so I got a long laundry list. But yeah, so definitely go there and compete in some stuff, pick each other's brains, and get to learn from him, and end up at a Mavs game. And
that sounds great. It's on the list. Really great chatting with you. Check out GamePlanU.org. Listen to Interview with Influencers podcast. If you need Titans tickets or know anyone who does, send them Mike's way. He'll take care of you. Looking forward to the season and to talking to you along the way. But have a great weekend. Thanks for joining the Wolff Den. That's it for this week. I think I'm traveling to New Jersey, so we got one guest next week. Keep an eye out for that, and hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. And we'll see you next time on the Wolff Den.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yep. Thank you, Matt.